In this lesson, we're going to talk about integers. Let's talk about some things to notice about integers. First of all, an integer is not a fraction. So an integer is not a number like 1/2, and it is not a number like 2/3. Integers include negative numbers. Negative numbers are numbers like -10, -4, -1. Integers also include positive numbers like 8 and 24 and 62. Those are all integers. And integers also include the number 0. So all those numbers, negatives, positives, and 0 are integers, and fractions are not integers. Another type of number that is not an integer is a decimal, because we know that some fractions, like the fraction 1/2, we can write that as 0.5, which is a decimal. Those two are equivalent or equal to each other. So 0.5 or 5/10 is not an integer. So when we're working with integers, we always we're really moving up and down this thing called a number line. This number line includes all of these integers below, from -5 to 5. So everything represented on this number line is an integer. All right, we're going to talk about adding integers, and we're going to use horizontal number lines. Now, the word horizontal, it looks a lot like the word horizon. And when we think of the horizon, we think of the sun going over the horizon. And that flat line of the horizon is a horizontal line. So when you think of the word horizontal, just think of the sunshine. Okay, we are going to add integers using like signs. What I mean by like is signs like addition, meaning both numbers are going to be positive numbers, or both numbers are going to be negative numbers that we're going to be adding. So what I want to do is we're going to work each one of these problems, but we're going to be using a number line. So let's look at the first one. The first problem is 3 plus 2. Now, that seems pretty easy. We all know that 3 plus 2 equals 5. Okay, well, let's go ahead and represent it on a number line. When I represent integers on a number line, I always begin at my home base, and I always indicate that by a little line at 0. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start at 0, and I'm going to look at my first number, 3. I'm going to go positive 3 units, so which I'm going to go 3 units to the right, and I'm going to draw my little arrow. Then I'm going to look at the second half, plus 2. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw another little line, and I'm going to add 2 to that, 2 spaces. So you'll notice that where I land, my last arrow is going to land at my answer, which was 5, which is like we said. So this is how we show adding integers on a number line. All right, let's go ahead and look at another positive, another 2 positive like numbers. So we have a positive 1 and we have a positive 4. We know that 1 plus 4 equals 5, but let's go ahead and represent it on a number line. We always start at our home base, and we're going to go up 1 unit. And I'm going to draw a little arrow. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw another little line, and I'm going to go up 4 units. You'll notice that I land, or the end of my arrow, is at 5. And like we said, 1 plus 4 equals 5. So whenever you see these arrows represented on a number line like this, this means that you're adding integers. So sometimes you'll be given a problem where you're just given the number line and you're asked, well, what is the expression that was written? Let's look at negative signs now. -3 plus -2. All right, well, again, I'm going to start at my home base of 0. And the first number is -3, so I'm going to go down -3 spaces, and I'm going to draw my arrow. Then my next number is plus -2. Okay, well, -2. I'm going to go down -2 spaces. It's very similar to the one that we did at the beginning, 3 plus 2, but now we're just working with negatives. That's going to give me my final answer of negative 5. So negative 3 plus negative 2 is negative 5. All right, negative 4 plus negative 2. Okay, well, let's start at our home base, 0. I'm going to go down 4. There's my arrow. And then I'm going to go down another negative 2 because I'm adding a negative. You can see that the answer is actually not on my number line, but you know that these little arrows on a number line, they mean that it extends forever. So we do know that negative 6 is somewhere about here. So that will be my answer. Okay, now we're going to look at the same thing, horizontal number lines, but this time we're going to be adding unlike signs, meaning we're going to be using negatives and positives. So let's look at the first one, negative 4 plus 6. Notice how my negative 4 is a negative number, and my 6, I know it's positive because the operation in front is positive. So here's how we're going to represent this. I'm going to start at my home base, just like I always do. My first number is negative 4, so I'm going to go down negative 4. There I am. But this is where things are going to change. Notice how it says plus 6. Plus 6, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn around. See my arrow? I'm going to start a new little line right above my arrow, and now I'm going to go up 6. Remember, I came down 4, so if I go up 4, it's going to look like this, and then if I add 2 more, it's going to end up at positive 2. So negative 4 plus 6 is going to give me positive 2. Okay, let's go ahead and look at negative 1 plus 4. Negative 1 plus 4. Okay, I'm going to start at my home base, and I'm going to go down 1. But now I'm adding 4, so I need to switch around. I'm going to draw a little line, and then I'm going to go up 4. Remember, I'm not going up to 4, I'm going up 4. So it's 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 spaces to give me my answer of 3. Negative 1 plus 4 equals 3. So I moved up 1 space, and then I added 3 more spaces when I added that 4 total. All right, let's look at 4 plus negative 6. Okay, I'm going to start at my home base, and I'm going to go up 4 this time. I'm going to go up to 4 because that's my first number. But now I'm going to add a negative 6. When we add a negative 6, this is another way when these operations are next to each other. This is another term for subtraction. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn around, and we're actually going to go down 6. So I'm going to go down 4 to get to 0, and then I'm going to continue on 2 more because the total will give me 6. So 4 plus negative 6 is going to give me negative 2. And the last one, 3 plus negative 7. I'm going to start at my home base of 0, and I'm going to go positive 3. So I'm going to go up 3. There's my arrow. But now, again, I'm going to add a negative. That adding a negative, that's another way to say subtract. So really, I'm going to go ahead and turn around, and I'm going to subtract 7. So I'm going to subtract. There's 3 to get to 0, and I'm going to need 4 more, don't I? And that's going to land me at negative 4. So 3 plus negative 7, that's going to give me negative 4. Okay, the last thing we're going to review in this lesson is the additive inverse. The additive inverse is 2 numbers that are equal distances from 0, but have different signs. And when you add the 2, it results in the sum of 0. So for example, negative 4 plus 4 equals 0. So let's look at this one. The additive inverse of negative 4. We know that negative 4 is right here on the number line. We're looking for the same number that if we were to add a number to this number, it would give us 0. So The additive inverse is going to be 4. The additive inverse of 3. Well, here's 3 on my number line. And I know that it's 3 spaces away from 0. So I'm looking for a number that if I add it to 3, it's going to give me 0. So if I go 3 spaces away in the other direction, if I add those two together, it's going to give me 0. So 3 plus 3 plus negative 3 is going to give me 0. I can also say negative 3 plus 3 equals 0. Negative 3 and 3 are additive inverses. So let's look on a vertical number line. We've been working just with horizontal, and now we're going to be looking with vertical. And vertical are the opposite of horizontal. They're up and down. So we have 2 plus 5. So if we were to look at this on a vertical number line, I'm going to, again, start with 0. I'm going to go up 2, and then I'm going to go up 5. And you can see that lands me at 7. I'm going to go ahead and erase my arrows so I can work on the next one. Okay, the next one is going to be negative 1 plus negative 6. Okay, I'm going to start at my home base 0, and I'm going to go down to negative 1, and I'm going to add a negative. When I add a negative, I'm going to continue down in that direction. So it takes me down to negative 7, and that is my answer. I'm going to go ahead and erase that so I can do the next one. Okay, negative 3 plus 2. Home base, I'm going to go down to negative 3. And I'm going to add 2 this time. Different signs. Notice in the first two, these were the same signs. The third one, different sign. If there's a different sign, you have to turn the arrow around. So I'm going to go the other way now, and I'm going to go up 2. That's going to land me at negative 1. Okay, and that is the end of our section. And the next thing we'll be doing is adding with chips.